Welcome, Fellowship family, to week 6. As we talk about gathering in community, we can't talk about gathering in community without getting some people in here. So I invited some friends. Welcome, friends. Make some noise. At Fellowship, we talk about what it means to be a multi-ethnic, intergenerational community. Folks that don't look alike, don't live alike, don't vote alike, all coming together for something that's greater. And what I love is that in this room, we have what I like to call kingdom diversity. Diversity that will match what we experience when we get to heaven. Revelation 7:9 is one of my favorite passages. And it talks about how when we all get to heaven, ain't gonna be a white section or a black section or a Latino section or an Asian section, but it will be God's people all coming together declaring, "Worthy is the Lamb that was slain." Although y'all do know if it was a black section, the music would be off the chain. You'd be like, "Girl, I'm going to the black section tonight." Look at you, she's like, "Yes, yes." I guess the thing that matters the most and that we want to walk away with is just understanding that God has called all of his children together to be one. And what does it mean for us to intentionally do life and community together? When we talk about that community, it's important that we know that that community has all kinds of diversity, not just racial diversity, not just economic diversity, but many of us are on different pages theologically in different seasons of our belief. One of the things is that I remember a lot of times we feel like the pressure to believe and then we get to belong and hopefully then we behave. It really doesn't go that way. We get to belong regardless of where you are on your journey of belief. Because we're at different seasons, different stages of our belief. Some of us are struggling with our faith. Some of us have concerns. I didn't mean to call you out, but yeah, some of us have different struggles in our faith. I think about the story of the prodigal son and how the father receives the son back even before he believes. He comes back believing, "I'm gonna be a servant." He comes back thinking, "My works is what's gonna bring me in." And the father says, "No, son, come in. You belong right here. Even though your belief is still a far way off, you still don't experience and see my love for what it is, but you still belong in this family." God has a huge vision for what does it mean for his family to come together, and in this space, for us to be known, for us to be cared for us to love one another, even when it gets hard. So I talk about this kingdom diversity, but I also want to talk about what do you do when it's hard to do life together? There are challenges, because there's humanity everywhere. What happens when you get an attitude with her and she don't like, when relationships are broken, when relationships are challenging, when community gets rough? I think the thing that God wants us to know more than anything else, I want you to be together, but I also don't want you to fake it. I want you to be together, and I don't want cheap community. I want real deep community. In Matthew chapter 5, he calls it out big time in a challenging way. He's talking about chapter 5, verse 21. He says, "You've heard that it was said to the people long ago, 'You shall not murder, and anyone who murders will be subject to judgment.'" Well, we all like, "Whoo, that's fine. I ain't murdered nobody this week, so I'm good with that. But I tell you that anyone who is angry with a brother or sister will be subject to judgment. Again, anyone who says to a brother or sister, 'Raka,' is answerable to the court. And anyone who says, 'You fool,' will be in danger of the fire of hell." This one really gets me. He says, "Therefore, if you are offering your gift at the altar and there remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar first. Go and be reconciled to them. Then come and offer your gift." God is saying the thing that matters to me most as you talk about gathering in community is that you don't come up with some cheap version of what community is. It means although you've got all that diversity and all those differences, the reality is sometimes it'll make it hard to work out hard things with one another. And he says you don't get to act like things are okay when they're really not. He says you've got to do community well, and that's by doing community, keeping it real. He says, if you're singing a song and if you've got broken relationship with your sister or broken relationship with your brother, stop singing the song and go fix the relationship. You don't get to rock out one another. You don't get to say, be mad at, rock out literally means to do this. Whatever, I'm done with you. I'm finished with you. I want to live as though you are dead. He says when you do that, it's as if you've murdered them. You don't get to say, you're dead to me. You don't get to say, you don't exist to me. I'm done with you. You don't get to throw your hand and rock at someone. You don't get to do that. And he says, I love my sons and my daughters so much that if you do that, I don't even want to hear your song. Your gift of worship, you can keep the gift, take that gift and take it to your brother and be reconciled. I guess what we want you to understand and what we want to push you towards is as we talk about community and as we talk about gathering and relationship, it requires reconciliation. And we don't do the cheap version around here. We've got to do the real version, and that means we go to one another and we pursue what I like to call grace. How do we make sure that we restore those relationships? The grace that I've received from God, I've got to extend it to my brothers and sisters. Where are the relationships in your life that maybe are broken, that need to be reconciled? Where do you need to ask for forgiveness? Where do you need to be forgiven? Where do you need to extend forgiveness? The only way this reconciliation thing works, the only way this community things work, you want to know how different we are and how many perspectives we got? And you know what keeps us from fighting and what keeps us? The gospel of Jesus Christ. But at the core of the gospel of Jesus Christ is grace. There's no way we get together and we actually walk and do life together without living according to the grace that the gospel requires. Got any broken relationships? Got any fragmented relationships? Got unforgiveness in your heart? Let me just tell you, if you got a worship song in there, one deletes the other.
Wow.
He says, yeah, you can turn your worship off and turn your forgiveness on, because your greatest song of worship flows out of your deepest forgiveness. We want to do community well. In order for us to do that, we've got to extend grace because we receive grace. Take some time and let's talk about restoring relationships. Let's talk about reconciliation. Let's talk about grace. Where do you need to extend forgiveness? And where do you need to be forgiven? Woo, that's deep. Y'all ready to talk about it? Well, let's talk about it. Y'all go talk about it. Let's dive in, because fellowship looks like reconciliation.